Welcome back to the On Therapy podcast with Simon Paul. I'm Simon Sanborn.
And I'm Paul Jacobson.
All right, Paul, what are we doing today?
Simon, I think we should just keep talking about what we did with our last podcast and it's talking about the very challenging topic of suicide and suicidal ideation or the thoughts that people can have. Um, so we kind of continue that if that's okay.
I think part two is fantastic. I think that's a good point. I don't know about you, but since our last podcast, I have had multiple conversations with lots of individuals that are
Yeah.
struggling with this right now, and I do lots doesn't even feel like it's doing it justice.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
not necessarily people individually, who are feeling like they have some ideation, but more of hearing about it more, hearing about like just I mean, I think at this point it'd be fair to say it's an epidemic, and especially for men. And so
Yeah.
with this podcast, we're trying to find the people who haven't been to therapy, who are looking to see if they can get some support.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times that's difficult for men because we have societal things that put pressure on us, and there's
Right.
lots of outside forces that seem to impact how we think about that stuff.
Right. Right. And reaching out to men who are struggling with these types of things, um, and then also how can men support other people in their life who may be
Mm.
going through these things too?
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit more to that? What's your thought about like how to support?
Yeah. Um, so it might be another family member, a brother, a dad, a grandfather, a cousin, could be a coworker, a neighbor,
Mm.
a buddy that you watch football with. That, what do you do in a situation where you're starting to really worry about
Mm.
what one of your your friends going through or your family member? Um, so, I think we could chat on that too, of, how men can what they can do if they're starting to have some of those thoughts, and then how can they support other people who might be going through them too.
Yeah, and I was when you were saying that, it made me think of like sometimes we can be aware of our own thinking and be like, wow, I feel like I'm in a scary space just in my own head, kind of.
Mhm.
Um, this makes me think, talking to your point about reaching out, it made me think of I used to work at Starbucks a long time ago when I was in college.
Hmm.
And I remember hearing of a manager or somebody in Starbucks who, they promote you being friendly and interacting with customers and things like that. And somebody had walked in and, hey, how are you? "Oh, good. And, order their coffee. And then that person just seemed kind of down, I think, or maybe that person recognized it was a barista. And they were like, hey, are you doing okay? Like, is everything all right? And the person just had that point where they're like, no, no, things aren't okay. And this
Hmm.
person at the moment felt like it was worth, hey, can you come and take over with me? And they went and sat down with that person. Now, again, I don't know if they had some ideation or they're feeling unsafe, but they had a moment of a break, or a moment where things became too much and it allowed them to be vulnerable in that moment to reach out to anybody. And this is even maybe they're a barista they know from the past, but still a stranger. And sometimes we get to those
Okay.
points where it's anybody we can reach out to. And I think we have touched on that with part one of last week's podcast was anybody you can reach out to is so important. And if you feel like you have people in your life, that makes life a lot easier too. But that can also be difficult. It's like, okay, if I'm presenting as the guy who takes care of everything, I'm the fixer, everybody looks to me for help and support.
Mhm.
Wow, am I able to reach out for help and support myself? What do I do in this position where I'm under stress or something's happening and I don't know who to reach out to because I'm the one who takes care of everything or I'm the fixer of all other people's problems. Who's going to help me fix mine?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Simon, you had so many things that I was thinking, okay, we could have a podcast on that. We could have a podcast on that. You
Yeah.
said a lot right there. I love that you were as a barista, your radar was on, and you could just tell that somebody wasn't doing great.
Yeah.
And
Now, I'm sorry. Did I frame that as if that was me?
oh, I'm sorry. That's what I
Let's
thought.
be clear. That's
Oh,
okay. No,
okay,
fair enough.
okay.
Like that was not me. I heard it through a person about an experience a barista had at some
Oh, I
Starbucks
see.
somewhere.
Oh, okay,
If you
okay,
needed clarity, the people listening need clarity too. This was
okay.
not
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
No,
Thank you.
no. I probably would have become a
I
therapist a lot
misheard that.
sooner if I didn't
Mhm.
know that. But
Yeah.
no, that was not me. Thank you for
Okay.
clarifying. But go keep it. Go ahead. Go with your thought.
Yeah. Thank you, Simon, for clarifying that. I appreciate it. Um, Yeah, I guess my point that I was thinking about is, in our society, so many times we go, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And oh, good, and we're not very honest sometimes about how we're really doing. And this barista was brave and just, you doing okay? And it just
Mhm.
really opened the door for that person to say, no, I'm really not. And I can really appreciate that in people that they when they ask how you doing, um,
Yeah.
you can tell. You can tell
Mhm.
that they really care. And I think maybe that's something that we can all do, especially with those close to us, is to create this this tone, this interest, this curiosity that, no, man, how are you really doing? Because
Mhm.
that can really help open the door to to be honest, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's even fair on the other side of that too, when often, like you said, we ask, "Hey, how you doing?" casually like that. How are you gonna respond when you're met with something that's different than you're used to? Because I mean, I wonder if that's part of what that barista experience is like. Every day I ask people how they're doing, and I get a normal kind of response. So I'm used to this
Yeah.
mundane kind of interaction that we all have with lots of people in our lives and the people we interact with each day. But in that moment, maybe they saw something different, like, oh, that was not a normal exchange or something. But yeah, sometimes being able to show up in those moments is difficult too when it's spontaneous like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
But it's people looking for help. I mean, I think that's a great example of somebody being at a point where I can't do this anymore, and anybody's going to be a lifeline.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So can we talk, Simon, just about uh, the masculinity that most men feel and how we oftentimes feel like we need to be tough, we need to have our shit together, we're not supposed to be feeling our feelings. I need to make sure, I'm protecting everyone around us.
Mm,
I'm the provider. I gotta have everything together. And that's a lot of pressure.
yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
pressure.
for
A lot
sure.
of-
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that our society really still drives these ideas.
Mhm.
And it's, as we're getting a little less patriotic in a sense, I wouldn't say a lot less, but, you know, hearing women celebrate women, and things like
Mhm.
that, and the joining of that, like, I think it's a great model for men,
Yeah.
to be able to find space to join in on those things too, of like, how can we be different? How can we show up different? That me not always being a fixer or a problem solver, does that put me into a position where I don't fit in anymore with my family or my friends? Like it can really, I mean, it does feel a little shaky at times about how do we show up for people and how does it perceived. I can't tell you how many times I've heard men say, well, I can't be a pussy.
Mhm.
And I've been like,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Here we go. This is what I'm talking, exactly what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, right? It's like this perception that if we are vulnerable, we cry.
Mm.
I mean, I've been called that lots of times, if not worse, by my sensitivity to things and crying at movies.
Mm.
Crying at a
Oh.
movie was like I remember sobbing at E.T., just sobbing. And I was a
Mm.
little kid.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when the flower died and E.T., I knew E.T. had died. Oh man,
Mm.
I lost it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm happy I have that sensitivity. Don't get me wrong. And it does, I mean, and I feel maybe that part of that is the acceptance of it's okay to be that way. I was raised that being emotional and expressing your emotions is okay in a lot of senses, so that you have that ability to reach out to people and get help if you need it,
Yeah.
or that you're not going to be judged by what that emotional expression looks like. And I think what's interesting is we are okay with some expressions of emotion from men if it's anger, if it's rage, if it, you know, if it's almost like I want to say like the same thing you're talking about, the protective side of us, if we
Mhm.
make ourselves bigger and bolder that we're being
Right.
the protector or whatever that looks like. I mean, I think but that's we kind of think that's acceptable, right? Like if
Right.
somebody calls my girlfriend a name, I punch him in the face, and that shows that I'm protecting her. And if I
Hmm.
say, hey, listen, this isn't worth it, let's walk away, I am now not defending her maybe, or I feel bad because I'm not
Yeah.
stepping up and quote unquote being a man in the moment. There's just so many things at play there that's again to the point of somebody listening to this and being confused because things aren't panning, making sense. They're not clicking together. Like that's some of the confusion that I think we can find ourselves in is like, God, I'm not allowed to show up this way, but I can show up this way. It's confusing and it becomes overwhelming at times, and you find yourself really stuck in where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Yeah. It's tough, isn't it?
Complicated.
It is complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, and I talked to somebody today that one of the things I love about therapy, and I people will probably get tired of saying it, is I get to sort through those ideas. So it's
Yeah.
not just
Right.
about revisiting trauma over and over again. It's like, hey, this seems, we'll talk about my grief. I'll just talk about my grief with my mom. Very complicated grief. Didn't have a deep connection with her because I stopped living with her at a certain time in my life.
Mhm.
And so when she passed away, it was and still is a difficult thing to kind of sort through because there are times where like should I be feeling sadder than I am right now? Is it,
Mhm. Right.
oh, the lack of connection that I had? Am I mourning that? Am I grieving the lack of connection I had versus her death? Like, I mean, all those layers and complexity to that is a lot to sort through. And we are taught pretty early on in therapy school that,
Mhm.
don't therapize yourself. Like it's
Yeah.
not, you're not able to do that. You have to walk through with somebody else to clarify your thinking. And that's why we're trained to kind of help people do that. But being able to sort through the complexity of all of that, and I was just talking about grief and with my mom, but then you layer on societal things for men. I mean, you can just see how fast it can get complicated and hard to sort through. And we just throw up our hands and like, what the fuck? We don't know what am I going to do? And I
Yeah.
think that for that person wondering what therapy is like, that's what it is. It's like coming in and talking about shit. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm experiencing. And then walking through what your thoughts and feelings are about those things. Like it's just a great way of understanding what you're experiencing so you can wrap your head around kind of how to live your life the best way you can.
Right. Yeah. And thanks so much for sharing about your mom, Simon. I know that isn't always easy to really talk about some personal things. So
Mm.
appreciate that.
Well, you're very inviting. So back to you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Simon, I'm hopeful that men can see uh, that we can be good examples of therapists that can sit there through it. Because, a lot of us guys are really just trying to get through the day and we're trying to stay as positive as we can. And, I'm going to get through this. And we try to stay pretty strong, persevere. Um,
Mm.
and we don't always have people that we can be real with. Um, even, loved ones, a wife or partner that sometimes we can't be vulnerable with them because we feel like we have to have this reputation with them that you know, we got it. When maybe sometimes we just don't. And this is where therapists can be so helpful to be able to just just really let go of. uh, trying to keep it together all the time. Because
Hmm.
is it is hard. We do yes have anger, we get pissed off, but sometimes we're really scared too. We
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty, um, whether it's in our job or relationships or friendships or financially or whatever it might be. It can be, a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah. And I'm trying to phrase this the right way so it doesn't sound psychotic. Um, I relish in the moments that I get to experience with men when they are on the precipice of something, they're on the edge of really feeling something,
Hmm.
and due to maybe the rapport we've built or the safety in the room, they're willing to step off that and see what happens. And
Yeah.
again, I've talked about this before. It's such a privilege to be with somebody in that space, to be able to watch them process through their feelings, to process through the emotion that's happening, and you can tell. I mean, I think everybody knows that with like even your spouses, you can tell when they're getting to the edge. And you're a safe spot so they can usually cry in your arms and you're okay. But in a therapeutic space, like it's still scary. It's still a scary thing.
Yeah.
And I just want to invite people that if there's fear about going to therapy, like I am not here to like crack you open and make you cry. That's not my goal. But I'm here to hopefully help you experience some of these things in this safe space and then be able to process through it so you can see the capacity that you have, that I believe everybody has to be able to walk through these feelings and these emotions. And
Yeah.
so I think that's a scary aspect. Am I going to cry in front of this person and they're going to think I'm a pussy? There you go. We'll do that one, right? Like that idea of being with somebody and then being vulnerable and what that says to everybody else around us. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I preface a lot of things with my clients about I'm coming through in a non-judgmental frame. I'm really trying to look at this in an open, thoughtful way to understand your experience. And
Yeah.
so I try to set the stage, maybe is a good example of that space. I mean, I'm sure you do something very similar to that, but I love the opportunity because when I see that person begin to experience the feelings, process through it, see that they can come out the other side, see that it's, even if it's just in here, that's okay. It's a great start. But then you start finding the capacity to do that in other spaces too. And you learn to like not suppress it, oh boy, I can feel something coming on. I better go to the bathroom for a minute and excuse myself and bawl my eyes out and come back. I
Mhm.
mean, that's okay too, but like being able to have the ability to process through it, it takes it's a skill set. Let me put it that way. Some people are
Yeah.
great at it. They can access those feelings pretty easily. Some people, it's a little bit harder, and it's a new way of being. And if we've been trained by society in a lot of senses to be this tough guy all the time, I mean, it is like jumping off a cliff. Like, what the hell's going to happen? I've been told for a long time this is not okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And Simon, I want to normalize to our listeners. We're talking about expressing emotion, being really vulnerable, maybe going places that we haven't thought of for a long, long time.
Mm,
Uh, and I guess I want to normalize to our listeners how um, therapy is on the pace of the client.
mm.
And so it's not expected that, like in the first session or second session or the fifth session,
Yeah.
that people open up to, these intense emotions about things. That it takes time sometimes to develop the trust that, okay, I can go there with this person. And that might be brand new for some people. It's
Yeah.
like they haven't ever, they can't even imagine possibly. Why would I do that? Why,
Right.
why
What
would
the
I
hell?
ever? And I'd have
Yeah.
people be thoughtful of how is it that they protect themselves by not expressing themselves. Like how,
Mm,
if I, share sadness or sorrow or regret or fear or something like that to someone close to me, what are they going to think of me? I, so I'm not going to do it because I want to protect myself. I have an image to portray. Um, and in therapy, I get it can take time sometimes to get there. So it's
Yeah.
not like, a new client walks in. Uh, Sometimes it does, but most of the time it takes some time to develop the rapport and trust with a therapist to be able to actually be able to share about some personal things and how we feel about it.
Yeah, yeah. I really appreciate you bringing that up. It's a really good point. Um, it does take time. And those are the moments for me that it reminds me as a therapist on the other side of the couch, so to speak,
Hmm.
that everybody's going to work at their own pace.
Hmm.
And that's their pace, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And we just get to show up and be there for them wherever they're at. Yeah, so I
Hmm.
really appreciate you bringing that up. And I think you're right. Some people come in, they crack right open, they're good to go, and then there's some people it takes years.
Yeah.
I think it's taken years for some of my clients to get to the space where they
Yeah.
feel comfortable doing that. And again, there's no harm and no foul on any of it. Whenever you show up and you're able to access that, like that's awesome. That means and if you haven't accessed it yet, like that's okay too. Like just know that continuing to explore and understand yourself better, you begin to access those parts of yourself that maybe you had shut down for a while and you hadn't even realized they were there. I think I've heard that quite a bit recently from people outside of therapy of like, yeah, I hit this moment.
Hmm.
And it's just awesome that we get this opportunity to kind of just see what happens in that moment. And it doesn't have to be, we don't have to put a lot of weight on it. It can just kind of be, it can just be what it is.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yep. You know, w- it- this got me thinking too, Simon, how it can take some time for people to build that trust and rapport, to be able to share. And sometimes people don't have the words to be able to put to their feelings too.
Mm,
And I also want to value the client that comes to therapy that wants answers.
mm.
And so they want a therapist to push them, to challenge them, tell them what they need to do to make things better. And so, we have all kinds of clients. Some of them uh, taking it takes a lot of time for them to get to the point where they can really express and name their feelings. And other people can come in and they, they might know exactly how they feel and they want to make it better and uh, try to resolve some of those things too.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it becomes a trope, but like we don't know what we don't know is a big thing for me. And I feel
Mm,
like I say that to clients sometimes too, that we have these assumptions that we should know these things. And it's a big assumption because, like, I wasn't, necessarily trained to be able to explore this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it takes, we
right.
don't, nobody taught me how to be a parent other than what my experience was as a child becoming an adult. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of training for this stuff, and
Right.
especially, if you're someone who's been kind of isolated and maybe you didn't have great relationships with your parents and things like that, it can be even hard because, the way I frame it sometimes with people is, we've been trained to be certain ways, but it's not because we had any choice in the matter.
Right.
When you're a
Yeah.
kid, you don't realize that you're just a sponge and you're learning how to live life by the examples that are around you. If you don't have any, or you
Yeah.
feel like you have ones that were detrimental, like
Mm,
we don't know that stuff. And so we sometimes don't even, oh, I didn't even realize I felt that way. I mean, I have a feelings wheel that I use with my clients
yeah.
because sometimes it's really hard to put a name to it. It's benefited me. Like there are times where I'm like, is this grief? I'm not quite sure. It doesn't feel sad, but something feels, grievy about it. And so I'll grab my feelings wheel and I'll just look at it and go off of sadness or something and just like, oh yeah, those two words kind of fit. And again, all it's doing is clarifying my thinking. Instead of me sitting there swirling and being like, what's this about? What's going on? Is it grief? Is it not? Instead of being in the swirl, I can be like, let me grab a tool. Okay,
Hmm.
this will help me, you know? So
Yeah.
I think being able identifying feelings is such a difficult one. I would say that probably in the last year, maybe two, I have recognized that some of the feelings I'm having, I can now kind of label as anxiety.
Mm. Yeah.
And I didn't have a word for it before
Right.
because I shut down anxiety. Because if I was going to allow myself to feel anxious, and again, I didn't have a word for it at the time, if I didn't shut that down, then I wouldn't be able to go teach every day. And so I got through the day by keeping that anxiety shut out. And part of that was I didn't have a name for it yet. I just
Yeah.
knew it was somehow impeding me sometimes to do my job. And so I was like, oh shit, now maybe with the time, I would say probably the program that we went through. I think having done therapy with lots of clients at this point, I mean, we've talked about this before about, I mean, I get informed too sometimes. My client will say something and it'll click with me, and then
Right.
maybe I paraphrase it back to them. And all of a sudden, I have this aha moment of like, God, I think I've experienced the same thing related to something else. God, that's like, I just find that shit so fascinating and
Yeah.
I love it so much. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's why I love my clients like I do. All of them, I just love all of them because they're all trying and I can appreciate that. They really teach me stuff sometimes. It's kind of crazy, but I love that this is a human interaction. And I think that's for people who are listening and wondering what therapy would be like or coming to therapy the first time. You're just meeting another person who's trying
Mm.
to get through life as well. Now they have a skill set and they're a professional, that's for sure. But then they're also showing up for you just as a human being, understanding the rigmarole and the roller coaster that is our emotions and our lived experience every day.
Hmm. Don't you find, to Simon, that um, w clients can feel stuck sometimes because they don't really have the words for those feelings?
Yeah.
And it makes so much sense to me in being able to think about little kids and how often, and especially men, how often they are shut down
Mm.
uh, and not allowed to express how they feel. It's like, I'll give you something to cry about, or
Yeah.
go to your room. Um,
Hmm.
oftentimes, we're right on the cusp of expressing ourselves as a kid. We want to say we're mad. We want to say that we're sad or something like that, and it gets stopped. Parents just don't want to deal with it. And
Hmm.
as parents, we're not great at being able to really process depth of emotion.
Mm.
I, I'm I'm angry, and I'm angry because I'm actually hurt. That made me sad that you did that. And when I'm hurt like this, I worry that it's going to happen again and again and again.
Mm.
When is this going to stop?
Yeah.
And we have some layers to those emotions, and a lot of kids aren't taught how to do that or even given the platform to express. And so no wonder we have adults that aren't comfortable with feelings. They don't know the words to them sometimes. So it's easy to feel stuck and just like burdened and like heavy and just like I just want this to end,
Yeah.
especially anxiety, right?
Mm.
Fear, uncertainty of what's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a really good point, Paul. And I wonder too if the space that we generate in therapy, I hope allows for more freedom or a sense of freedom to access some of those things. And it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, which is we don't know, what we don't know. And
Mhm.
if we haven't been taught how to understand and experience what we're feeling, it's going to add more complications. And
Mhm.
then I maybe also think that if we don't know some of these things, if in therapy, I've had definitely lots of parents over the years that as a teacher and as a therapist they'll talk about interactions with their kids and they'll be having responded well, right? And then I said, you could insert a little bit of validation and some asking a question about how they're feeling
Oh,
instead
yeah.
of just the automatic, hey, what's wrong? Oh, well, I'll get you another teddy bear. Or hey, what's wrong? Oh yeah, we'll buy the new thing that broke. Like we step in really fast, which is wonderful. We're showing up for our kids. Can we step in and be like, wow, you seem really upset right now. What's going on? Well, I
Hmm.
broke my headphones and I know they were expensive and
Oh.
all these things. Oh, that's what happens
Your
when you
computer,
get,
Simon.
oh,
Arms are flailing.
that'll be a lot of fun to edit. We'll see. Maybe I'll leave it in there. We'll see what happens.
Maybe.
um, so back then, yeah, broken headphones. So like, oh wow, so you're really worried that not only did you lose your or broke your favorite headphones, you're worried about it costing more money too. Oh man, that makes a lot of sense why you'd feel that way. Thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
So, I know that sounds nice and perfect in the moment, with me not being in what's happening, but that's a way of responding to help your child have that emotional regulation ability to understand what's happening for them. Oh, I get really, just to your point earlier, I broke my headphones. We can easily see how that'd be like, God damn it, those were $200, and you can go down
Yeah,
that path
right.
so fast, right?
Right.
And I think part of that's legitimate. Like, yeah, you need to be more careful with your things and things like that. Can we do all of that? Can we say, wow, I'm really sorry you're angry or you're sad and you're upset because they cost a lot of money and they're your favorite headphones? Yeah, we probably can't buy another pair right away, and maybe this time you help pay for some of those things. So you still get to articulate the things that are bothering you as a parent, whether it's financial or whatever, but you can have the same conversation and accomplish the same things you want to. Your child learning to be more careful, being aware of how expensive things are, but you can also show them how important their feelings are and how to understand what they're feeling in those moments. So we can still get pissed and we can still get angry, but then like, oh, I'm so mad. Why? I bumped into a pole in my car today and now I have this dent. And like, oh man, it's just gonna cost me more money.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to figure this out.
Mm.
Instead of being angry and pissed off that they hit a pole and they don't know what they're gonna do, and oh my God, it's gonna cost money. So we can just see everything elevate instead of reacting in a way that's processing more of what you're feeling, maybe is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. Got kind of muddled there, but
Oh, I get it. And as parents too, and friends and partners, we tend to try to reframe things to being fine. It's like, oh, it's okay. It will be just fine. And don't worry
hmm
about it. It's okay. We all make mistakes. No, and let's use your example of the headphones. That might be really invalidating to how the kid feels. There could be a lot of loss of not having those headphones. They
hmm
really need them. And uh, to just kind of try to convince our kids to feel uh, better. We try to take pain away by
hmm
not actually allowing them to process the feelings, right? So
Yeah.
uh, it makes sense that as adults, sometimes we have that same pattern. It's like, okay, I'm going to just try to stay really positive on this. It's okay. I'll make it through. It's just fine, when it isn't.
Right.
It isn't just fine. I'm really angry about this, or
hmm
I
Yeah,
just
and I think if we're going to pull this back to somebody who's listening to this who hasn't been to therapy before, or somebody who is, suicidal or feeling like that, when you may have been raised in a way where, understanding your feelings wasn't very prominent. Maybe there's no one there to even show you how to deal with that. And so,
right.
like the idea of, I would just think of like a kid being sad and somebody saying like, "Hey, man, get over it."
Yeah,
And then every time I'm sad, I'm told to get over it and it's my problem. And if that's just on a repeat as a kid, when I become an adult, it's like, oh, I'm sad. We'll get over it. I mean, that'll just be a natural thing that you think about without even being conscious of what's taking place. I mean, I think that's important too. Some of these thoughts are just things that happen automatically, because we just don't know what we don't know about ourselves yet.
Yeah.
And so if we have that invalidation of our feelings over and over and over again, we can become adults, and we can definitely do it towards other people too, but we definitely do it over and over again, still internally to ourselves.
Yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and after a while, you can get to the point where like, well, I can't get over it anymore. I can't get over it. So now what do I do? And I think that's where people get to that edge of desperation, where suicide becomes an option, is because I don't know what else to do. I've gotten to this point where I've tried to handle it myself for so long, and it's not working anymore. So what do I do now that I can't get over it when I've been told my whole life that that's how I handle my sadness, for example?
Yeah.
And so it makes total sense of why people get to that edge of like, there's nothing else to happen for me to intervene on changing how things are for myself.
Right. And sometimes with that too, Simon, the role models we've had in our life have demonstrated that expressing feelings is not safe.
Mm,
Let's say you're a little kid and you see mom, really just devastated. Something's really happened that's bad for her, and she's trying to express that to dad, and dad is um, just not hearing her and
mm,
just missing how she feels. Tells her that how she's feeling is wrong, or that she's confused or whatever it might be, just not hearing her. It can help teach us as kids that, okay, well, I'm not gonna go to my dad to express anything. He's gonna
mhm,
dismiss how I feel about it. And so that can just become our default, that I'm not gonna express myself. Um, 'Cause bad things could happen. No one's gonna hear me. Oh, and I think this is something that could lead to some suicidal thoughts too of, well, I have no one. I can't talk to anybody about it. Because if I do, then I'm just burdening them.
mm,
Something bad's going to happen. I'm going to be told I'm weak or whatever it might be. And man, that's lonely, lonely.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's, why therapists are out there is to really have a human connection where you can talk about these things and feel a little bit more safe to be able to go there.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think too, I'll just preface this with like, we're not blaming parents by
Mhm.
talking about this. I think
That's
it's
true.
important. It's important to
That's
point out of like,
absolutely. Yeah.
everybody's experience
Yeah.
is everybody's experience. And
Yeah.
if people deserve blame, they deserve blame. I understand that thought too. But what I do, and maybe this is a thought experiment I do sometimes, but I think of like, okay, if someone was raised this way and got this information,
Mhm.
their parents were raised this way and got this information, and it just keeps going
Oh, yeah.
backwards.
It's a generational thing oftentimes, isn't it?
Yeah, and it doesn't. And again, I don't. I think I've said this before. Like people are like, so therapy is always talking about mommy and daddy issues, and I'm like, it's not mommy and daddy issues. It's understanding that your parents are human beings doing the best that they could do, and
Yes.
hopefully,
Mhm.
and that your experience doesn't have to be something that is then blamed on them because they didn't do what they should have done. They may not have known what they should have done. I've talked about my regrets and some of my parenting in the past.
Oh,
If
yeah.
I could go back and do it again, I would do things totally different because I just didn't know what I didn't know in those moments. And so I think it's important too. This is not about blaming other people. It's about gaining understanding for ourselves that then gets to be applied for some understanding to somewhere else when somebody gets to that space to be able to do that. I think I've expressed to you on that before about one of my therapists said, you don't have to forgive that person. And I was
Mhm.
like, I thought that's why I was here. And she's like, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to forgive them if you don't want to. And I was like, oh. And again, I think that just freed me up to explore more of, well, what am I still holding on to? Um, I can't even tell you in this moment if I'm necessarily forgiven that person yet, but I
Mhm.
think at some point I will. I think I'm closer to that than I have been before. But again, this is 10 years of therapy. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So it's like, but again, these are things I get to explore with my therapist. That's
Yeah.
again, I find exciting at this point in my life and on my therapeutic journey is I'm like, oh, so that's what it's connected to. That makes sense. I remember experiencing that. Okay. And it's not me going like, oh, he did that or she did that. Now I know why I'm the way I am. It's more of like, oh, that connection to that situation is informing me now. And so it doesn't have to come with a lot of blame. It doesn't have to come with a lot of um I mean, it's fair if it does. I mean, it's fair for sure if it does. Where's that coming from? What's going on inside of us that we have so much volatility? And maybe, like I said, it's deserved. Can we begin to shift perspective, not to help that person, but to help ourselves?
Yeah. And thank you for uh, talking about parents. I think you're spot on. Um, parents' intentions are good most of the
Mhm.
time, right? They're doing their best. And they learned how to do things from their parents. And it oftentimes does run downhill, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, I just think it's important because at any point we can shift things is that's what I believe.
Yeah.
And so when I was talking about regrets about parenting, I can't go back and change that, but I can move forward in a way
Hmm.
that is with the same thinking. So I was overcorrective, maybe with one of my kids, right? Because they're like me, they have ADHD, they're always doing something a little off and wrong, so to speak.
Hmm.
Wrong, sorry. But it allowed, but now I still see all those things. And now I just get to love them. And
Yeah.
before I was trying to fix him, I was trying to change these things. I was trying to like, oh God, how's he going to be in the world? And I had a lot of anxiety and worry around that. And now I realize I just need to, I mean, I tell parents this all the time, especially when we've done like professional development days with clients or with, sorry, with teachers and families, is being able to just love your kid. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I know it might be hard to do sometimes, but really just loving and caring for them and them knowing that you're a safe landing spot as much as possible. We all get pissed off. We all get angry. We all lose our cool. That's okay. Can we, a majority of the time, show up and with a loving, caring presence for our kids? I think that's one of the biggest things I try to push through to parents is you
Mhm.
just have to love and care about your kid. They're going to end up being a pretty good human being in general if
Mhm.
they've grown up with, even if it's just one parent who loves and cares about them.
Yeah.
They're going to move through this world a little bit differently because of that. And
Mhm.
that we can at any point start showing up like that again. And
Mhm.
so I do have regrets, but those inform me.
Me too.
So when I see my son doing something that drives me crazy and always has, I just think about how much I love him and how much I care about him. And he's doing okay. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it can be tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to circle back, Simon, to um, our mission of reaching out to men in this podcast and trying to demystify therapy. And we talk a lot just as therapists and how we try to be there for people and what therapy can be about. Um, just want to try to invite men to consider therapy if they haven't before. Um, if their therapist might not be the greatest fit for them, to feel like it's okay to try somebody else. It's okay, or at least tell your therapist that you need something different or you need something more. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
And
too,
also,
sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead, Simon.
I was just going to point out that if you're looking for a therapist, there's plenty of places you can obviously Google it. Psychologytoday.com is a great place to go to find a therapist, and therapist.com is also a place.
Hmm.
I guess we reference Psychology Today quite a bit for ourselves as therapists. When we want to offer referrals to people, things like that, we'll say go to psychology.com to find that person. But there's plenty of places to reach out to. So if you're looking for a therapist in your area, psychologytoday.com is great, therapist.com is great. And you can, what's nice is you can kind of sort through, if you're a man looking for therapy and you want to be with another man, that's cool. If you feel like, okay, I've had a male therapist before, I want to try it with a female therapist, plenty of female therapists on there. And so it's nice too because you can read the bios of people. You can kind of see how they click. I have a lot of athletes that reach out to me because I have coaching background. So sometimes that's, it might find a little niche in there as well. So I think it's kind of nice to be able to sort through and see and be like, oh, this person looks great. And then you read their bio, might not be the best fit, or it's not the kind of therapy I'm looking for, maybe. But yeah, Psychology Today and therapist.com are both, I think, great resources if you're looking for a therapist.
Right. And I want to let people know too, Simon, that therapists are licensed by their state. And so let's say you and I we're licensed in the state of Iowa. So we can see people from around the state. And it can be something to think about is do I want to see a therapist in my community? Or do
Mm,
I want to see a therapist in a community that I never visit? Like, there's no way we're going to cross paths, and it's very
mm,
likely they don't know anybody that I know. Uh, so it could be good. I have clients from around the state, and I think you do too,
yeah.
Simon. It can be nice to uh, sometimes see a therapist in your community because they know a lot of the things that are going on in the community, and therapy might be about that, right? It might be about what's going on in your town. Um, and so it might be nice to see a therapist in your community. And, it might be nice to talk to someone 200 miles away. So I want to invite people to consider that too.
Yeah, and I think I was not a huge believer in telehealth back in the day because
Hmm.
I'm really about being in the room with a person. I like body language, facial expressions, all that kind of feedback that I get. But knowing that telehealth or teletherapy is 95% as effective as in-person therapy, hopefully can calm some of the fears of like, oh, I need to be in person, over the internet sucks, that kind of thing, but it's still as helpful, I believe, as
Hmm.
seeing somebody in person. So
Yeah.
even if you are far away, it's still really effective, and as effective as in-person therapy, and just gives people so many options to be able to find other avenues to find therapy. And then that being the goal of this podcast is for men to reach out and find somebody. I don't know. I would think that if I'm a guy who's uncertain about life and maybe I'm going through a divorce, maybe I'm struggling with my kids, yeah, I could just hop online and find somebody. That's pretty nice. And then I can, it's more flexible too, in the sense you don't have to be anywhere at a certain time except at your laptop, so that allows some more flexibility too, which is kind of nice. I've definitely benefited some of my telehealth clients I do from home, which is really nice.
Mhm.
So it's nice for us too. But I love that flexibility for people to be able to access it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, thanks for today, Simon. Really appreciate it and glad that we're able to do this podcast and reach out to our listeners. And I hope that they can share it with their friends. Uh, want to try to, we both want to try to reach as many people as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, thank you for everybody for listening and taking the time out of your day to listen. Hopefully, you got some nuggets of information that you can take home with you. I would also offer the idea of subscribing to the YouTube channel or the Spotify or the Apple, I think Apple podcasts.
Mhm.
I think that would really help us kind of see how things are affecting people, if we're getting some kind of like traction with helping people out. So please like and subscribe to those things too. I'm so glad you brought that up because I would have never thought about it. I'm such an old man sometimes. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, I think the letting people know where to find us is important, and I think sharing this is important too. So please share this with your friends and your family. And if you are feeling suicidal or having ideation like that, please reach out to 988 for for somebody to talk to in the moment. Great person to reach out to. Doesn't have to be your barista. Then also too that if you are in a crisis, 911, they can come and they can help. They're trained for that as well to be able to help out in some of those really, really hard moments. And, we're here for you and we love you and we appreciate you. And we know that things can really be a struggle out there. And that's what we're here for. So, any parting words, sir?
That's fantastic, Simon. Thank you so much. And the last thing I guess I would add is for people to feel like they can reach out if they have a topic or something that y- we could we could discuss
Mm,
on here. Feel free to ask a question. Let us know. We'd love to discuss it.
yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love a topic. That'd be great.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That'd be a blast. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Paul, for your time today.
You bet. Yours too, Simon.
All right,
Take
buddy.
care.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you around. All right. And now for our disclaimer. The content shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional mental health treatment, diagnoses, or advice. Although we are licensed therapists, this podcast does not establish a therapist-client relationship between the host and the listeners. The discussions, examples, and opinions shared are based on our professional experience and perspectives, but they are not personalized to your specific situation. If you're experiencing emotional distress, mental health concerns, or a crisis, we strongly encourage you to seek support from a qualified mental health professional in your area. If you are in immediate danger or need urgent assistance, please contact local emergency services or a crisis hotline. In the US, you can call 988 for suicide hotline. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge and agree that the hosts are not providing therapy, counseling, or clinical services, and any actions you take based on the content are your own responsibility. Listener discretion is advised, as some topics may include discussions of trauma, mental health challenges, or sensitive experiences. Thanks.